The quantum sensors aboard the UVS Hawking picked up the signal at 300 Earth Standard Time. Captain Maya Rodriguez might have missed it entirely if she hadn't developed the habit of personally reviewing deep space scans during the quiet hours of her shift. The signal was unlike anything humanity had encountered in their 50 years of space exploration. A complex pattern of gravitational waves that seemed to defy the known laws of physics. "Dr. Walsh, what do you make of this?" Maya called out to her chief scientist, who was already hunched over his console, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic data streams. "It's artificial, Captain. No doubt about that. But the technology." He paused, running his fingers through his gray hair. "It's centuries beyond anything the Galactic Council has shown us. Maybe even millennia." The Galactic Council, humanity's first contact just 15 years ago, had been less than impressed with Earth's primitive technology. They'd grudgingly allowed humans to join their interstellar community, but only as a probationary member, restricted to the fringes of known space. The Council's representatives never missed an opportunity to remind humanity of their place in the cosmic hierarchy. Maya studied the signal pattern again. Something about it seemed desperate, almost frantic. "Can you clean it up? There might be a message embedded in the waveform." Dr. Walsh worked in silence for several minutes, his fingers dancing across the haptic interface. Suddenly, the ship's speakers crackled to life with a sound that made Maya's blood run cold, a keening wail that somehow conveyed pure terror despite its alien origin. The message that followed was in Standard Galactic, the trade language of the Council. "To any who receive this, they come from the dark between galaxies. Our defenses mean nothing. Our technology is useless. They consume entire worlds. The Council refuses to believe, refuses to help. We are the Nexus, and we are dying. Please, if anyone receives this, help us." Maya felt the weight of command settle heavily on her shoulders. The Nexus. She'd heard whispers about them during diplomatic functions. A legendary race that had supposedly achieved technological singularity eons ago, withdrawing from the galaxy to pursue their own evolution. The Council dismissed them as myths. "Get me Earth Command," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "And wake up our xenolinguistics team. I want to know everything about this message. Emotional subtexts, cultural markers, the works." "Captain," her first officer, Commander Chen, spoke up from his station. "The Council's probationary protocols are clear. We're required to report any contact with unknown civilizations immediately. They'll order us to maintain position and wait for their investigators." Maya smiled grimly. "Then we'd better work fast, hadn't we?" Over the next 12 hours, the Hawking's crew worked tirelessly to analyze the signal. Dr. Walsh's team confirmed it originated from a star system deep in the galactic core, well beyond humanity's permitted travel zone. The Xenolinguistics Department identified patterns in the message that suggested absolute authenticity. Whoever sent it was experiencing genuine terror. Maya spent those hours in careful deliberation, knowing her next decision could affect not just her crew, but the future of human galactic relations. When the Council's expected order to stand down arrived, she had already made up her mind. "All hands, this is the captain speaking." Her voice rang through the ship's corridors. "We've received a distress call from a civilization under attack. The Galactic Council has ordered us to ignore it. They cite our probationary status and our primitive technological development." She paused, letting the words sink in. "But we are human. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our evolution. We survived ice ages, predators, plagues, and our own worst impulses. We didn't do it by standing down when things got difficult. We did it by helping each other, by running toward danger when others ran away." She took a deep breath. "I'm setting a course for the signal's origin. The Council will call this a violation of our probationary status. They'll probably call it worse than that. But I can't. We can't ignore a cry for help, no matter who it comes from or what the consequences might be. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wishes to stay behind will be transferred to the Gagarin station with full honors before we depart. For those who choose to continue, she smiled. Let's show the galaxy what humanity's primitive technology can do when we put our minds to it. The response was immediate. Not a single crew member requested transfer. Instead, they threw themselves into preparation with the unique intensity that humans brought to impossible challenges. Engineers began modifying systems, pushing their primitive technology in ways the Council had never imagined. Scientists pored over the signal data, looking for any advantage they could find. As the Hawking prepared to jump beyond known space, Maya received one final transmission from Earth Command. She expected a reprimand, orders to stand down, perhaps even threats of court-martial. Instead, the message was brief. "Good hunting, Captain. The rest of the fleet is right behind you." Maya's eyes widened as she processed those words. Earth was sending the entire humanitarian fleet, the massive rescue and disaster response ships that the Council had mocked as oversized and unnecessary. Humanity had built them anyway, because Earth's harsh history had taught them to always prepare for the worst. As the Hawking's engines spun up for the jump, Maya thought about the Council's dismissive attitude toward humans as Deathworlders, beings who evolved on a planet so dangerous it should never have produced intelligent life. They were about to learn why that was humanity's greatest strength. "Helm, execute jump sequence," she ordered. "Let's show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do." The Hawking disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind the safety of known space. Humanity's first unsanctioned rescue mission had begun, and with it, a chain of events that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be human. Chief Engineer Raj Patel stood in the Hawking's main engineering bay, surrounded by holographic projections of sensor data from the Nexus distress signal. Behind him, 3 massive fabrication units hummed continuously, turning theoretical solutions into reality. The ship had been in hyperspace for 72 hours, and in that time, his engineering team hadn't stopped working. "The problem isn't just technological superiority," he explained to Captain Rodriguez, pointing to a simulation of the enemy's alleged capabilities. "These beings, whatever they are, operate on principles that seem to violate our understanding of physics. They're not just advanced. They're different." Maya watched the simulation show another world being consumed by what looked like living darkness. "Different we can work with, Raj. Humanity's been dealing with different since we first crawled out of the oceans. What have you got for me?" Raj grinned, the expression somehow both tired and excited. "Something the Council would call impossibly primitive. Something that could only come from a species that evolved fighting against nature itself." He gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a modified version of the Hawking's shield system. The Council's ships use quantum field generators for defense, elegant technology that can stop almost any conventional attack. But these entities seem to exist partially outside normal spacetime. They slip right through quantum fields like they're not even there. He brought up another display, showing the test results from the past 3 days. "But you know what they can't ignore. Good old-fashioned physics. Mass, gravity, electromagnetic forces, the fundamental forces of the universe itself." Maya leaned closer, studying the design. "Are those particle accelerators?" "Yes, wrapped around the hull in a triple helix configuration. We're going to turn the entire ship into one massive particle collision chamber. The magnetic containment fields alone will be strong enough to affect local spacetime. The Council says particle accelerators are crude technology," Maya noted, but her eyes were bright with understanding. "Exactly. They abandoned this line of research centuries ago. But humans? We kept pushing it, kept finding new applications. Because on Earth, you never know when you might need to smash something really, really hard." The engineering bay's doors slid open, and Dr. Walsh hurried in, tablet in hand. "Captain, you need to see this. We've decoded more of the Nexus signal." He transferred the data to the main display. The new information painted a terrifying picture. The entities weren't just consuming worlds. They were consuming information, knowledge, the very essence of civilizations they encountered. The Nexus, for all their advanced technology, had been helpless against this fundamental attack on their existence. They're information predators, Dr. Walsh explained. They don't just destroy. They absorb, learn, adapt. Each civilization they consume makes them stronger, smarter. Rad's expression turned thoughtful. Then we give them information they can't process. Human information. Deathworlder information. He pulled up yet another display, this one showing the modified communication arrays his team had been working on. We've been trying to upgrade our systems to match Council standards. But what if we do the opposite? What if we broadcast everything we know about survival on Earth? Not the sanitized version we share with the Council, the raw data. Maya caught on immediately. The complete history of evolution on Earth, predator-prey relationships, mass extinctions, the entire brutal story of how life on our world adapted and survived. Exactly. These entities evolved somewhere out in the void between galaxies. They've never encountered anything like Earth's evolutionary arms race. We flood their information absorption systems with billions of years of survival data from a death world. Let them try to process that. Dr. Walsh looked skeptical. You want to give them more information. Wouldn't that make them stronger? No, Raj said firmly. I want to give them indigestion. Over the next day, as the Hawking continued its journey through hyperspace, the engineering team worked to implement their desperate plan. They converted cargo bays into additional particle accelerator rings. They modified every transmitter on the ship to broadcast on frequencies the Council considered too primitive to be useful. The ship's quantum computers, derided by the Council as clumsy first attempts at true AI, were reprogrammed with Earth's evolutionary database. Every brutal step of natural selection, every extinction event, every adaptation and counter-adaptation that had shaped life on humanity's homeworld was prepared for transmission. It's ready, Raj reported, just as the ship's sensors detected the edge of the target system. But Captain, this is going to be rough. We're basically turning the ship into a giant shotgun blast of particles and information. The Council would call it barbaric. Maya smiled grimly. The Council isn't here. They're still debating whether this threat even exists. But we are here because that's what humans do. We help, even when it's dangerous, even when it's impossible, even when our methods aren't pretty. She turned to address the engineering team. The Council thinks we're primitive because we come from a world that tried to kill us every day. They're about to learn why that makes us the most dangerous species in the galaxy, because we never stopped learning how to survive. The Hawking dropped out of hyperspace into chaos. The star system ahead was already partially consumed by writhing masses of darkness that defied description. In the distance, geometric shapes that had to be Nexus installations pulsed with failing energy fields. Maya took her command chair, watching the enemy entities begin to turn toward her ship. All hands, battle stations, engineering, power up everything. Let's show these things what primitive technology can do in the hands of Deathworlders. The Hawking's hull began to glow as particle accelerators spun up to impossible speeds. Every transmitter on the ship prepared to broadcast billions of years of Earth's evolutionary history. Humanity's first battle against an entity from between the galaxies was about to begin, and they were going to fight it in the most human way possible, with the very forces that had shaped their world and their species. Weapons free, Maya ordered. Let's give them a taste of Earth. The void entities struck first, just as the Hawking sensors registered multiple hyperspace signatures. The Earth fleet arriving right on schedule. Tendrils of living darkness reached across space, their touch causing quantum fields to simply cease existing. But the Hawking's jury-rigged defenses held particle streams and magnetic fields, creating a barrier of pure physics that the entities couldn't simply ignore. First wave incoming. Commander Chen reported from tactical, multiple contact points. They're trying to interface with our systems. Maya watched as the darkness probed their defenses, seeking weaknesses. Execute Operation Thunderstrike. Full broadcast, all channels. Give them everything. Raj's voice came over the comm from engineering. Initiating data burst. Transmitting Earth's evolutionary database. Now. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Where the void entities touched their broadcast field, they recoiled violently. The patterns of their movement became erratic, almost confused. Through the quantum sensors, Maya could see their information absorption systems struggling to process the raw data of Earth's history. They're trying to understand predator-prey relationships from the Cambrian explosion, Dr. Walsh reported, excitement creeping into his voice. Their systems are attempting to model millions of simultaneous evolutionary arms races. Good, Maya said. Now show them what happened next. Show them the extinctions. The Hawking's transmitters poured out data about Earth's mass extinction events. The Great Dying, which had nearly ended all life on Earth. The asteroid that had wiped out the dinosaurs. Each catastrophe that had forced life on Earth to adapt or die. The void entity's reaction was beyond anything they had hoped for. The beings physically convulsed in space, their attempt to process billions of years of survival data overwhelming their ability to maintain cohesion. Earth fleet in position, Chen announced. They're implementing the same modifications we developed, creating a containment grid. Through the bridge viewport, Maya watched as humanity's primitive rescue fleet took up strategic positions around the system. Each ship was now a node in a massive particle acceleration network, creating a web of fundamental forces that the void entities couldn't transcend. They're trying to retreat, Walsh observed. The evolutionary data, they can't categorize it. Earth's history doesn't fit any of their existing patterns. Maya leaned forward in her chair. Because life on Earth doesn't follow patterns. It breaks them. It adapts. It survives. And now they're learning that the hard way. The void entities began to cluster together, perhaps seeking safety in numbers. It was exactly what the humans had hoped for. All ships, Maya broadcast to the fleet, synchronize particle streams. Prepare for concentrated burst. Let's show them another fundamental law of nature. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. The Earth fleet's engines glowed as power was diverted to their makeshift weapon systems. The void entities, still reeling from the informational assault, didn't realize the trap until it was too late. Execute simultaneous burst, Maya ordered. All ships, fire. 27 human vessels, their hulls wrapped in particle accelerators, fired as one. The combined streams of accelerated particles created a localized distortion in space-time itself. The void entities, their very existence partially anchored outside normal space-time, were suddenly forced fully into this universe. And in this universe, they discovered, the laws of physics were unavoidable. The concentrated particle streams tore through the now fully materialized entities. Their attempt to absorb and adapt to this attack only made things worse. Every bit of information they processed from the particle streams contained more Earth survival data, more patterns their systems couldn't reconcile. Direct hit, Chen reported. Entity mass is decreasing. They're losing coherence. Through the sensors, they watched as the void entities began to break apart. Their attempt to consume and understand Earth's evolutionary history had backfired spectacularly. They couldn't process the sheer chaos of evolution on a death world, couldn't understand how life could persist through such violence and upheaval. We're receiving a transmission from one of the Nexus installations, Walsh announced. They're asking if what they're seeing is real. They can't believe we're actually winning. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Send them our sensor data. Let them see exactly how we're doing this. It's time the galaxy learned what humanity's primitive approach to problem-solving can accomplish. The void entities made one final attempt to rally, to adapt to this unprecedented attack. But they had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that absorbing information would make them stronger. They hadn't considered that some information, some experiences, could be too intense to process. They hadn't evolved on a world where every day was a fight for survival, where life had to be tough enough to endure multiple near-total extinctions. They hadn't evolved on Earth. Entity cohesion critical, Chen reported. They're breaking up faster than they can reform. Whatever passed for their consciousness, it's being overwhelmed by the evolutionary data. The darkness that had threatened to consume the galaxy began to dissolve, unable to maintain its existence in the face of humanity's assault. Not just the physical attack of particles and forces, but the mental assault of billions of years of Deathworld evolution. Too much information, too much survival, too much adaptation for their systems to handle. Stand by for final burst, Maya ordered. Let's make sure they can't pull themselves back together. The Earth fleet fired again, their combined particle streams creating a web of fundamental forces that shredded what remained of the void entities. In the end, their defeat came not from advanced technology, but from the most basic laws of physics, laws that had shaped life on Earth since the first cell divided. As the last traces of the void entities dissipated, Maya opened a channel to the Nexus installation. This is Captain Rodriguez of the UES Hawking. Your system is secured. We stand ready to assist with recovery operations. The response came in a tone of what could only be described as awe. You defeated them. With particle accelerators and evolutionary data. We did it the Earth way, Maya replied. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, especially when those simple solutions involve hitting something really, really hard. The battle was over, but Maya knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself in a way the Council could no longer ignore. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most primitive solution was exactly what was needed, especially when that solution came from a species that had evolved on a world that never stopped trying to kill them. The age of the Deathworlders had begun. The rescue operations in the Nexus system had been underway for 3 days when the Galactic Council's delegation finally arrived. Their sleek ships, all sweeping lines and quantum fields, looked almost fragile next to the robust vessels of Earth's humanitarian fleet. Captain Rodriguez watched from the Hawking's bridge as the Council's flagship approached, its hull gleaming with technology that had proved useless against the void entities. They're requesting permission to dock, Commander Chen reported, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from his voice. Apparently, they've reviewed our battle recordings 17 times. Maya straightened her uniform. Grant them clearance, and make sure our engineering logs are ready for review. Every jury-rigged modification, every primitive solution we implemented. I want them to see exactly how we won this fight. The Council delegation consisted of 3 representatives: a Meridian with crystalline skin, an Axolon with multiple cybernetic enhancements, and a Ven whose gaseous form was contained within an environmental suit. Species that had evolved in carefully controlled environments, on worlds that had never tried to kill them. Captain Rodriguez, the Meridian began, its crystalline features catching the light. We have reviewed your actions in this system, your violation of probationary protocols, your unauthorized deployment of the Earth fleet, your use of, it paused, as if struggling with the concept, particle accelerators as weapons. Technically, Raj interjected from his position near the conference room wall. We used them as shields first. The weapon part was more a happy accident. The Axolon's cybernetic eyes wared as they focused on the engineer. You modified rescue vessels into crude but effective weapon platforms in less than 4 days. Without any advanced quantum technology. Without AI assistance. How? We did it the same way we survived on Earth. Maya answered. We looked at what we had, what we needed to accomplish, and we found a way to make it work. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt and overcome. But your methods, the Ven's translator conveyed a mix of horror and fascination, broadcasting the evolutionary history of your world as an information weapon, using magnetic fields to force higher dimensional beings into normal spacetime. It's primitive. Maya suggested. That's what the Council called us when we first made contact. Primitive Deathworlders who somehow stumbled into space. But being primitive doesn't mean being ineffective. Sometimes it means understanding the fundamental forces that shape the universe. Dr. Walsh stepped forward, displaying a hologram of the void entity's final moments. They were so advanced that they'd forgotten the basics. They could transcend normal space-time, but they couldn't handle the raw data of survival on Earth. They could absorb the knowledge of entire civilizations, but they choked on the simple brutality of evolution on a death world. The Council representatives studied the hologram in silence. The Meridian's crystalline surface rippled with what might have been emotion. The Nexus have formally requested Earth's assistance in developing defenses against future threats, it finally said. They believe your perspective could be valuable. Maya smiled. The Nexus understands something the Council missed. Advanced technology isn't always the answer. Sometimes you need the perspective of a species that evolved fighting tooth and nail for every step forward. Several other Council members have expressed similar interest. The Axolon added, "Your success here has challenged certain assumptions about technological development paths." "Good," Maya said firmly, "because those assumptions nearly got the Nexus wiped out." While the Council was debating whether the threat even existed, Earth acted. We didn't wait for the perfect solution. We found a way to make our primitive technology work. The Ven's environmental suit shifted colors. The Council has voted to remove Earth's probationary status, effective immediately. Furthermore, we would like to establish a joint technology exchange program. There are gaps in our understanding that your unique perspective might help fill. Maya exchanged glances with her crew. This was more than just recognition. It was an admission that humanity's approach to problems had value. That sometimes the crude but effective solutions of a death world species were exactly what was needed. "We'd be happy to participate," she said, "but the exchange needs to go both ways. We'll share our primitive technology and survival strategies, but we expect the Council to start taking our warnings seriously. The galaxy's a dangerous place, and it's better to be overprepared than elegant." The Council representatives agreed, though Maya suspected they didn't yet fully understand what they were agreeing to. They would learn, just as the void entities had learned, that there was nothing truly primitive about humanity's approach to survival. As the delegation departed, Maya stood at the viewport watching their ships disappear into hyperspace. Nearby, the Earth fleet continued its rescue operations, their robust hulls now bearing the scars of their victory. They were ugly ships by Council standards, over-engineered and built to survive anything, just like humanity itself. "Dr. Walsh," she called out, "what's the status of those void entity samples we collected?" "Fascinating results, Captain. Their attempt to process Earth's evolutionary data actually changed their fundamental structure. They literally couldn't handle the concept of life that evolved through constant conflict and adaptation." Maya nodded. "Make sure that data gets included in our report to the Council. They need to understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our history. Every struggle, every near extinction, every adaptation that kept us alive on Earth. It all prepared us for this moment." The Hawking sensors picked up new hyperspace signatures, more Council ships arriving, this time to learn rather than to judge. The age of elegant, refined technology was giving way to something new, an era where the harsh lessons learned on a death world would help shape the galaxy's future. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as primitive newcomers, but as hardened survivors with lessons to teach. The Council would never again dismiss the value of evolution on a world that tried to kill you every day. They had seen what Deathworlders could do when the stakes were high enough. And this was just the beginning. 1 year after the Battle of the Nexus system, the UES Hawking docked at Harmony Station, the newly constructed joint research facility that symbolized the changed relationship between Earth and the Galactic Council. The station's design itself told the story of this evolution. Elegant quantum architecture reinforced with sturdy human engineering principles, beauty and resilience working in harmony. Captain Maya Rodriguez walked through corridors where Council scientists worked alongside human engineers, each learning from the other's perspective. The station's mess hall served both traditional council cuisine and hearty Earth dishes, a cultural exchange that went far beyond technology. "Captain," Raj called out, hurrying to catch up with her. He'd spent the last 6 months helping integrate Earth's primitive but effective defensive systems into council technology. "You need to see this. The Nexus just sent over their latest test results." In a nearby laboratory, he pulled up a holographic display showing a new type of shield system. It combined council quantum fields with particle acceleration principles developed on Earth, creating a defense that was both elegant and brutally effective. The council called it inelegant hybridization at first, Raj explained, his eyes bright with excitement. Now they're calling it adaptive engineering. Funny how merely getting wiped out by void entities changes perspective. Maya studied the design, noting how it embodied the best of both approaches. And the Nexus? How are they adapting to this new paradigm? Better than anyone expected. Their theoretical models are decades ahead of us, but they've embraced our practical approach to problem solving. They're calling it the Earth Protocol. When faced with a threat, act first, optimize later. The station's observation deck provided a view of the combined fleet exercises taking place nearby. Council ships, their quantum drives gleaming, practiced maneuvers alongside Earth's robust vessels. The contrast was still stark, but now it represented strength through diversity rather than technological hierarchy. Dr. Walsh joined them, carrying his ever-present tablet. "The latest data from the void entity remnants is fascinating," he said without preamble. Their inability to process Earth's evolutionary history wasn't just information overload. It was a fundamental incompatibility with their worldview. "Explain," Maya prompted, though she had a feeling she knew where this was going. "They evolved in the void between galaxies, where conditions are constant and predictable. Their entire existence was based on absorbing and categorizing information into neat, unchanging patterns." Walsh brought up a simulation of Earth's evolutionary timeline. But Earth's history is chaos theory in action, each adaptation leading to counter-adaptation, endless cycles of change and survival. They literally couldn't compute the concept of thriving through constant challenge. "Just like the Council couldn't understand why we overbuilt everything," Raj added, until they saw how those redundant systems and crude backup plans saved the Nexus. Maya watched as a council ship executed a perfect quantum jump, only to be followed by an Earth vessel performing the same maneuver using a hybrid drive system. "We're teaching them about survival, and they're teaching us about elegance. Both have value." "Captain Rodriguez," a voice called. Maya turned to see Ambassador Chen, her former first officer, now Earth's first representative on the Council, approaching with a diverse group of alien dignitaries. "The Council's Defense Committee has unanimously approved the Earth Protocol for implementation across all member worlds," he announced. "Your success here didn't just change military doctrine. It's reshaping how the galaxy thinks about technological development." A Nexus representative stepped forward, their crystalline form shimmering with multiple colors. "We had achieved what we thought was the peak of technological evolution," they said through a translator. "We had transcended the need for redundancy, for backup systems, for primitive solutions. We were wrong. Humanity reminded us that true advancement isn't about abandoning the fundamental forces that shaped us. It's about understanding them." Maya noticed a group of young Council species members gathered around Raj as he explained the principles behind particle acceleration. They weren't dismissive of the primitive technology. They were fascinated by its elegant brutality, its direct application of universal forces. "The void entities weren't the last threat we'll face," Maya said to the assembled group. "The galaxy is vast, and there will always be dangers we haven't anticipated. But now we face them together. Council elegance combined with Earth determination. Deathworld innovation working alongside advanced theory." Speaking of innovation, Ambassador Chen interjected, "The joint fleet exercises have revealed something interesting. The void entities weren't unique in their vulnerability to fundamental forces. Many of the threats we've discovered in deep space share similar weaknesses. They evolve beyond basic physics, only to find themselves vulnerable to it. Maya finished. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. The station's alert system chimed softly, announcing the arrival of more ships. Through the observation windows, Maya watched as vessels from a dozen council worlds arrived for the next phase of joint training. Each ship now carried both quantum technology and particle accelerators. Each crew included both council specialists and human advisors. When humanity first reached the stars, Maya addressed the gathered dignitaries. We were called primitive Deathworlders who had no business in advanced galactic society. Now those same primitive solutions have opened up new avenues of research, new approaches to defense, new ways of thinking about survival. She gestured to the combined fleet outside. We're not just teaching the galaxy how to survive. We're learning how to thrive. Every species brings its own perspective, its own solutions. The void entities fail because they couldn't understand diversity, couldn't process the idea of strength through variation. The Council failed too. The Nexus representative added, when we dismissed Earth's approach as primitive. We forgot that evolution itself is neither primitive nor advanced. It simply is. And those who survive are those who adapt. As the gathering dispersed, Maya remained at the window, watching the ships maneuver in perfect formation, Council elegance and Earth resilience working as one. The void entities had tried to consume the galaxy's knowledge, never realizing that true wisdom came from understanding different perspectives, different approaches, different paths to survival. Humanity had come to the stars carrying the harsh lessons of Earth, ready to share them with a galaxy that had forgotten the value of struggle, of adaptation, of never giving up no matter the odds. They had proved that being a Deathworlder wasn't a limitation, it was a strength. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, perhaps other entities watched and learned an important lesson. The species that survives isn't always the most advanced, or the most elegant, or the most powerful. Sometimes it's the one that remembers its roots, that carries the lessons of its harsh beginning into the stars. Sometimes it's the Deathworlders who show the way forward.